I tell you what, if you own a sailboat, you just can't get around without having projects to do. I decided I would inspect the keel and maybe do a little refurbishing on my keel. And so I removed it the other day. As you can tell, in order to do so, I had to jack the sailboat up and roll the trailer out from under it, so I could then go under there and unbolt the keel. The keel is 500 pounds, and it was no easy task. But when you're lifting this thing in the center, you want to be really careful that it doesn't tip over. I already had it tip over on me once, and I just happened to be standing there and it caught me at the hip and back. But I was able to keep it from completely falling over. I also have these straps connected to the barn to make sure that it does not roll. Under here, I've got a piece of plywood that obviously will break with the pressure. And then I have a bunch of shims, essentially 1x and 2x shims here to take the, kind of spread out the load. Instead of it being at one point right here on the 6x6, the plywood kind of spreads out the weight load. At the front, same thing, double stack cinder block, and you can tell I raised it up enough to get a 2x in here, and then I raised it up high enough to get a 4x in here, and et cetera, until I got it up high enough to roll that trailer out. When I dropped the keel hanger, this is what it looks like for a Catalina 22 and probably a Catalina 25 right there. Now this thing was all gunked up with paint and everything. And so I did some, put some paint stripper on it, scraped the paint off, and then hit it on the bench grinder with a wire wheel. Shined up pretty good. Now this is the next project. This is the 500-pound keel. This is where the hanger goes in, the brass pin. I've already hit this thing with a grinder, and I've ground down past the paint, and I noticed there was some fairing in here also, which I may go ahead and leave. I'm going to treat this keel to neutralize the rust that's on here. I'm going to hit it again with a couple of different pads with my 4-inch grinder, but still yet, that rust, if there's any down in these little crevices and stuff, they'll continue to grow. So I'm going to paint this with some stuff that'll neutralize it, and I'll go over that later. I'm going to have to go in here with some epoxy, fill that up. You can see the fairing where they built this out. So I suspect there might be some more holes in here. But overall it looks pretty good. Like I said, owning a sailboat, there's always freaking projects. I want to do a lot of selling videos coming up, but you just cannot avoid freaking projects. Not when you've got a sailboat. She's up here where I can work with it, not having to bend down there or crawl around on my knees. Yeah, that's a much better setup right here, for sure. Waist high where I can work on it. I'll tarp this. I've got to do a little reading on the 2-part epoxy. There may be some temperature requirements, so I gotta be real careful about that. But gotta do a little research on that, because if this is too cold, and right now we're in January, so it's cold in Oklahoma. Although this is a fairly warm day, this steel, this iron is cold as all get out, still retaining the temperatures from last night.
Okay, while I flip this keel, let's go over what I've done to the keel up to this point. So I used a 4-inch grinder and ground the entire keel. After that, I used a Harbor Freight brand sandblaster, and I sandblasted all the crevices, nooks and crannies on this keel. that, I applied a coat of Ospho. The Ospho neutralizes the rust and stops it from growing further. Once that cured, then I applied a 2-part epoxy bar topper. A little different, but that's what I put on the outside of the keel. The stuff hardens rock hard and is very durable and hard to scratch. Once that cured, then I applied the first coat of fairing onto the keel. I used Total Boat fairing compound. It's also an epoxy.
And that is how I flip a 550-pound iron keel. It's not too bad. Knock down the big stuff, and then I'll put some fairing on here and work it till it's baby butt smooth. I've already done the other side, and ooh, it is smooth. It feels good. But I think I'm ready to mix some fairing material after I wipe that down with some acetone.